Good afternoon, everybody. Late night. My kid's elementary school is calling me right now, but he doesn't have school tomorrow. He could be missing. I don't know. The big thing today is that I have Doom and Apathy on the pod today. We did some back-to-back episodes, mostly because I'm just trying to catch up from moving here in Tacoma. Welcome, Doom and Apathy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Your name is Adam. I did not know that before.
Yep.
Adam, hey man, I've been watching your stuff for quite a while. As a matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I reached out to you right whenever I first started doing the hobby, I think, on your Ms. Moore post.
Yeah.
And because I was blown the fuck away by that. And I was just like, I can't believe he did the cover of that because that's a fucking amazing creature, anyways.
Thanks.
To have any kind of, yeah, of course, to have any type of miniature role-playing game or what have you, skirmish game. Where do you lie? Where did you start off at? Have you played Warhammer since you were a kid, or?
No, man, I think I first played like D&D when I was like 6. My friend's older brother ran us through a dungeon on like his bedroom floor with like I just remember graph paper and dice, you know, and just like the whole immersive experience. I was thinking about this. I got a either 3rd or 5th edition fantasy box set in um, my senior year of high school. I tore my ACL, my MCL on my knee, and I was gonna be like laid up for a while. And I was like, I need something to do. So I like traded a bunch of Magic cards for the box set and
Dope.
painted up some archers, and they were like so bad. I still have them actually. I was like, oh, I can't paint. This is not for me. And I remember trying to teach people the rules, and there's like there's a rule book, and then there's like an army campaign book, and there's like red sticks to point. Like it seems super cool,
Yeah.
and it is. I think it is super cool. And also, it was just too much for my high school brain.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's a lot of information. It's a little too much for my adult brain
Yeah,
at times, just because I'm knee deep in D&D since I was. I always say like, and there's probably gonna be a fact check by Cole on this, but maybe I think it was like 11 or 12. I was really young, and I started with 3.5 whenever I was. My best friend lived up closer to the city, and his dad played, so that's where my bread and butter has been. But so D&D, you started that so you played at 6. Did you continue or?
yeah. And I think we played like when Dark Sun came out, and I remember that, and like all of Brahms art related to that was really that whole setting is fantasy, but it's not. Like it's post-apocalyptic, like Mad Max, and fantasy in the desert, and there's like elves are different and halflings are cannibals, and it turns all the classic tropes kind of on their side.
Yeah,
And I just remember for me being like, oh, fantasy doesn't have to be the Hobbit; it can be something different. And that, like, I still like. I have a Dark Sun. I went as an adult, back and bought a Dark Sun box set, and I have a bunch of those old modules and books. Every time
that's
I go to
cool.
a bookstore, I look to see if I can find some of the old paperback novels, like the Pentad Prism series.
You need to text those to me because I have so much stuff around me, man.
Yeah,
I have so many bookstores in this place. It's
yeah,
stupid. I could probably get you something.
yeah. So I played D&D and like Magic the Gathering. Played a ton of Magic until I got in high school, and I really got into BMX and riding bikes. And that's like that.
Skateboarding.
Yeah,
It was
yep,
for me. Yeah.
yep. Um, and then got back into D&D in 2012. Some coworkers and like that group, we still play D&D, and I became the DM in that group a bunch of years ago. And that's probably my main hobby engagement is playing D&D with that group.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, D&D, I think, is a good precursor to like anything, and you don't have to stick to the rules. You can house rules and everything else. I love whenever somebody says something like, "Well, that's not part of the rules," or "You can't do that." Like, I think that that's kind of a joke.
Yeah, I want to keep the story going, and so I try to avoid players looking up rules or myself. I make a lot of rulings, and I try to write it down and like look it back up, and then correct it the next time it comes up if I have to. Um,
Right.
but like if we're all busy, we're all adults. We
Hmm.
It's hard enough to get all six of us together to play a game. I don't want to spend that time looking rules up if I don't have to, and so my D
Right.
and D style is very loose. I think a lot of times I'm like if I'm creating a puzzle or a trap or something, there's no like prescribed way that the players have to get to solve it. I'm just waiting for them to tell me something that sounds cool, and then like, all
Right.
right, roll a
Yeah.
d20, let's see if you get a success on that stat, and then yep, turns out that's how you solve the puzzle.
Do you play 5?
We do play five, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
We started with 3.5, and then when fifth
Same
edition
here.
came out, the guy who was running at the time, Bob, um, who actually is the guy who got me back into miniature tabletop gaming as well. I was like, I want to switch to fifth. He's like, I'm going to buy all the books. And so we all just kind of came along with him
Yeah.
with
I
that.
mean,
And I think there's a lot of, like, say what you will about Wizards as a business in the last 5 years. I think fifth edition is a pretty good edition of D&D.
until they try and sell you another edition of the same thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
capitalists are going to capitalize, right? Like
Yeah.
that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, it's just so silly to me. I see it and my lizard brain immediately goes, "I need to buy that. I
Mm-hmm.
gotta buy it because it's a new book."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "No, bro, you don't have to. You find out what's different, and if you like it, you adopt it, and if not, you just don't do it."
Yeah, for sure. We do. Let's see. I borrow the torch rules from Shadowdark. Like my house rules are lots of a la carte things. You know, we
That's
have
cool.
um oops, sorry. That was my reminder for the time we had picked to start.
Yeah.
Like they can use hit dice because like there's the mechanic that lets you roll hit points on a short rest. And I let them burn hit dice to give themselves inspiration or to use as a reroll. So like I'm encouraging
Yeah.
them to churn through resources to make it a little bit more cinematic at times. But yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you afraid of killing somebody?
players
Yeah.
or player characters rather. No, not at all.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, I'm a little iffy, so I'm in the middle.
yeah,
I think that it is very important to keep your members in check because it gives them a little bit more self accomplishment, I think. I mean, I was DMing Icewind Dale, Ram of the Frostmaiden, and because I've never been a DM before, or I have. I was a kid and I didn't know what I was doing.
sure, none of us do.
But yeah, but I'm finally comfortable with it now, which is nice. And at one point, an ancient Resmeraz like gulped up like a couple of them, and they were really hurting. I think it's important. What is that like your same shared experience or?
I think if the players lose a character from like a trap in the classic save or die, that's a really shitty experience, right? Or it can be. I think the players feel like they fully understand what's going on and that they get to make a choice, and then that choice has a consequence, as opposed to like a gotcha. That tends to like it can be hard in the moment, and then they're pretty quick to spin around. I always have I'm either running an NPC, which becomes like my mouthpiece in the game,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's like there's NPCs they could pick up. Like I want to make sure the player can still feel engaged that evening, right? But it's happened a couple times, and all but one of them has been pretty like it's like sucked, and they've been okay with it. And actually, there was a we were playing in Cholt, and I was like the NPC I was running, the guide, who was like the in-game character was really interested in eating monsters, so he like had a list and he would like cook up fancy meals that they would eat, and they all made a mistake, maybe not a mistake, through a series of game choices. That NPC died, and they all felt really bad. Like it was probably one of the most
Really?
like gut wrenching moments, and it's just like this character that was scribbled in the margins. They ended up going left when I really wanted them to go right one night, and this character
Yeah.
became a centerpiece for like I don't know, better part of half a year. And then
Holy shit.
he like
Yeah.
falls through a rotten beam and gets, consumed by ochre jellies or something.
Yeah,
And
as you do.
it was one of the like slime monsters. And they were like, oh man, that's such a bummer.
As he's just like, ah.
Yeah, they're just hearing him being dissolved real time. Yeah.
Let's just think about that for a moment. No, yeah, man, that's pretty fucking wild. I really like to take to a degree. I don't know if you've ever watched Dropout or know who Brendan Lee Mulligan is.
I do know who Brendan Lee Mulligan is. Yeah, yeah.
I think he's cool as fuck. I
Yeah.
think he's one of the coolest people out there, just in the hobby in general. But just his mentality on it and trying like the jokes and things like that. I really love something that can kind of break up kind of the shit that you and me were texting about a couple days ago about politics and everything. They can really break up something that is so serious or so hateful during shitty times. It's just comedy, that's what it's there for. But
Yeah.
is there any direct influence that helped you kind of direct the story whenever or is it just repetition?
For like campaign, like multi game
Yeah.
campaign, like,
Like pulling like inspiration that you pull from.
yeah. Um, I think I let myself be influenced by everything, whether it's like when we got back into the hobby, would have been 2012. I just had my second kid born, so
Okay.
I've played into things that have come up from me as a parent. Trying to think of different, and we've also like on Halloween I ran Ravenloft. I run Ravenloft
Mhm.
every Halloween. It's kind of a one shot, or I have a couple times now rather.
I would
We've
fucking love to
done
do that.
what's that?
I said I would fucking love to do it. Anything that has to do with Ravenloft, I'm like, even the like stereotypical tropey. I love it. I love it so much.
There's
I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, it's there's so much there. I've read a bunch, and there's a lot of good. I think Sly First has some articles on how to run it as a one shot, and it's totally great as a one shot. Like we play sometimes where it's like full on like here's the hallway, there's a door, and like play total crawler mode. But then also I'll pivot to more like cinematic cutscenes and like, all right, so you're going to continue to explore. Sure. Do you want to stay on this floor? Do you want to go upstairs? Do you want to go upstairs? Okay, great. And then I have something planned for that, and it's more of like a node crawl or like a flow chart. Like, and that's what I broke. I have like rebuilt Ravenloft as, which is basically like 10 encounters, the crypts. There's room with the organ and the feast, and a handful of other things that I really want to highlight. And it's kind of a puzzle to figure out like where's Strahd gonna be at, and
Yeah.
they need to get a couple items to really be successful. It's a
One of
fun
them have to
adventure.
dress up like a or a fortune teller the whole time and
No,
just
I don't go full. Um, I should. Uh,
costume. Actually, next year, Adam, I'm going to need you to dress in an old crone outfit.
okay, yeah.
I don't want to say gypsy
Mhm.
necessarily, but close to a gypsy.
I was avoiding that word myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Yeah, it's not the greatest word. I wish there would be a different one for specifically D&D. But yeah, yeah. I'll just be the bad guy to say it. No, I think here was a question leading after that. So you started off with D&D. Did you like graduate to other or start gradually moving to other platforms, or have you always stayed D&D?
In terms of like Vampire the Masquerade or
Yeah,
like Call of Cthulhu
stuff
type.
like that.
Yeah, no, pretty much just D&D. Although I went through and looked at a bunch of the other um, like I mentioned Shadow Dark. There's lots of other it's like um, Labyrinth Lord, or there's a bunch of like they're basically D&D but reskinned clones, OSR movement. There's a ton out there in that space.
Well, as far as like other games too, like did you ever get really into skirmish games, or are you now? Or
Oh yeah, yeah. So let's see here. Playing D&D, looking for other minis, and I had that old box set that I got back in high school. Had like a Citadel catalog,
cool,
um,
yeah,
and so like I remember pawning over that and looking at Mordheim was in there, Necromunda, and so then as an adult, getting back into the hobby into D&D and looking at models really originally primarily for D&D and just um, pivoting for that, and then played Kill Team a bunch and Warcry. Um, I played a bit of 40K here and there. Forbidden Psalm.
yeah. That's what I'm really looking forward to trying to do up here. There was hardly anybody in the area that I was in whenever I was living in Texas, and if they were playing anything, they were playing Warhammer. And
Yeah,
if anything, it was not narrative. It was very regimented and competition based. So I'm hoping to get into Forbidden Psalm a little bit. I already built it, like my little thing together, and um, I really I die I will die for the day that I get to play an actual game of Morkborg, even if it lasts for 5 minutes. I just really it really piques my interest. Is there something that sticks out to you more that you enjoy more over the other?
in terms of any one of those systems or skirmish versus D&D or all the above.
Mm-hmm. All the above.
Yeah, I I really like the immersive storytelling of D&D. Um, and also I like whether it be Mordheim or Forbidden Psalm or Frostgrave or like Flames of the Orion, just being able to sit down and play a game and not have to, because it's different, right? Like when you're running the game, there's a different responsibility, there's a different amount of prep,
Yeah,
and also just playing a game sometimes is fun. But I like the immersive narrative aspect versus the competitive aspect. I just
me too.
want more of a shared load, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I
for
also
sure.
yeah, I also really dig just like the hobby aspect, making models, painting models, making terrain.
I was just talking about this with Mold, super nice guy. Last episode I did,
Yeah,
and I'm more interested. We were talking about being more interested in the art element of it. I do want to play games in the future, but I think the art element pulls me in more than anything else, and I think it's it's cool whenever you get to share your stuff and other people get to see it, and you get to see other people's stuff. It's just like a nice little. It's like every time you pop on your phone, you're looking at another geocache of all these different like
yeah.
images of people's shit, and it gives you ideas. So I completely understand the crafting and the artistic side of things. Were you ever art inclined as a?
Yeah, just sketching in notebooks, but also switching the body parts of my Ninja Turtles, or like inside the GI Joe, there's like a little rubber band that holds it together, and there's like a
There
hook,
is.
and you can like take them apart and like mix them around, paint.
I didn't know the mixing.
Yep.
See, you were kit bashing, bro, before I even thought that was a fucking thing. So
Yeah.
we should
There was
get
a
down into your deep child psychology about this.
I remember in preschool or kindergarten, it had to been kindergarten, in the library of our school, somebody had built a diorama out of like a cardboard box, and they'd like cut a hole in the top, and it was like a GI Joe like dropping down on a rope into a cave.
Jesus.
And I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. And
Yeah.
like that's like, and I still pull back to that when I think of like, all right, what do I want to do here? I want to like, and it was just like one action figure in a cave, and there was like fungus, and I feel like there was some kind of insect, like maybe a big centipede or something in there,
Yeah.
or it was like a dinosaur. But the like just being able to tell the story, and so like now when I work on models, it's funny how I don't like. I think some people really like to build a story, and then they build the model to match the story, and I do that, but also I'll just start working, and by the time I get the model painted and done, I've built a little narrative in my head
Hmm.
to go along with it.
I can resonate with that quite a bit because that's exactly what I do. 9 times out of 10, I do not have a story prepared. The one, the Bumble Drumpf was definitely thought of before I did that, but that's just because Trump's a little fucking twat, and I wanted to make him look like a little pudgy shit bird with a small stick. So, yeah, I totally get that, man. I think it's so crazy. I was just thinking about this. Whenever you get the final product, you've made it completely, and you know that that's everything it was straight from your mind onto the mini. That's probably like one of the greater feelings ever about anything.
Yeah.
I think, me personally, trying out that new landscape, and actually, I reached out to you asking you about board making, and that's the reason why part of the reason why I'm having you on the show is because it's to show other people, kind-hearted people that actually want to help out. And that's what I've experienced since I've been in the community. But yeah, you really helped me out. And honestly, I continued that on to the second piece.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Did you get
man.
the new one with the scaffolding and like the wood planks, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide because it's not fully finished. Trying to decide if it's going to be it's supposed to be a bell tower, so I was thinking about hanging the bell that's in there. But then certain minis can't pass by, and I don't want to. I don't know. This is all making these in hopes that it's just one less step I'll have to take in playing with a group of people on Morkborg or fucking more time. It's just one less little hiccup. I saw your shirt, man, and I didn't realize that whenever we first started. We just saw Bell Witch. Well, we were stationed in Italy
Hmm?
uh, in 2020 or 2019, and we went to Roadburn that year,
Awesome.
which was fucking so dope.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah, you just gave me like a flashback of all these like amazing memories. But yeah, I got to see Boris for the first time there. I got to see so many fucking good bands. It's just fucking dumb. Cave In. I think that's whenever they did their reunion show. It's fucking
Yeah.
crazy, man.
I saw they Cave In was it Cave In that toured with Felwich? Or was it with Yob?
I wouldn't be. Yeah, I mean,
I think
I
it was with
wouldn't blow my mind for either one, but
yeah, I think I saw Cave In with Yob, and then I also saw Yob with Belwich, like a year apart.
nice. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. Yeah, I'm about to go to. This is my first show in a long time, but I'm about to go to Better Lovers, Full of Hell by
Hmm?
Cloakroom. I'm really excited for Full of Hell and Spy. Better Lovers. I mean, it feels like a little bit of a blast from the past because um, I was 15 whenever I first started listening to Dillinger, and it feels a lot of the same way. And every time I die, so I mean, yeah, they got to keep on doing what they do. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch that. Hopefully, fire's breathed upon the world. That would be nice. Um, so in those skirmish games and stuff, you've obviously met like a lot of people. Are there any group of people specifically that you want to kiss the ass of right now here on this pod where nobody's watching?
You have like the other three viewers from the Hive Scum
We
podcast.
said, yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. The other, yeah. So I stole their joke, and then hopefully they'll steal a joke of mine. They won't because they don't care. They don't care. But yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. There's a ton of really really awesome people. Obviously, the like Gage and the whole In Rest We Trust community is such an awesome bright spot.
yeah,
That community as a whole is pretty great, which is by parallel association under the Dice Fest and the Hive Scum podcast, of course. You mentioned Cole Slipper already in this call or this chat today.
yeah. We were talking a lot of bad stuff about Cole, Hive Scum guys. I think you even said it's what Evan.
Yeah,
Everybody thinks he's cute, but like he's actually a really terrible person. And he spit on me the first time I saw him.
wow, that's quite the claim. Has that
I
been
mean,
corroborated?
that's what we were talking about. I don't know if you remember that phone conversation or not.
Mm.
All right. Anyways, yeah. So in the hobby, have you been to any of these events whatsoever?
Yeah, I let's see. I've been to
Normally attend
a
Adepticon and
bunch
stuff like that.
this year. I have a great partner who is happy to watch our kids while I travel to go do events. I got to go to the Brothers of Prometheum event in New England over the summer, the barbecue. Steve, South of Heaven Steve, flew into Minneapolis and we drove to Wisconsin for Tabletop Miniatures TMX Expo
Nice.
back in June. Went to Adepticon and I was at Nemo back in January. So quite a few events. In Minneapolis here, we actually have Renegade coming up later this month, right before Thanksgiving. Originally, I wanted to do an event there, but I was going to have to travel for work. I was going to be in Taiwan,
Shit.
but that trip has been pushed back, and so I am going to go check out the Renegade convention.
Sound like Bill Ford right now, going to all these different countries, making me jealous.
He's that guy. Him and Colsifer like collaborated, and I like randomly, or maybe not randomly, but very intentionally from them, got a model in the last month as part of Colsifer's "What's in the Box"
Yeah, yeah.
promotion. Yeah, like those two. I get like because I know Bill a little bit. I made a model for his Viserion event, just like a pilot that had been like shot up and like lost all of his limbs. So it's like
Yeah.
a fish head with like a cyborg body.
Dope. Yeah.
That I did like this. I made little purity seals that I wrapped around his robot feet so that he could walk into the churches. One of those like this story evolved as I built the model pieces.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's
so like
fucking dope, man.
I get this box from Bill, and I'm like, "What is Bill sending me?" And it was him and Cole collaborating to hook me up with something, which is such the community's awesome.
Yeah, man, it's kind of insane. The only event that I've been to is an event that we created, or Bill created rather, and we decided on calling it Grimtex, and that was down in Texas with Gabby,
Yeah,
Slapfee, all those guys.
that's a Senorita Imp, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Tim from Howling,
yep,
Cole, and they're all amazing people.
yeah.
But I just recently got hit up by Bill, either it was today or yesterday, asking if I want to do another Grimtex, and I was like, of course, I would totally come down there. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm a little apprehensive only because it's fucking Texas. And I don't want, first of all, Texas. It goes without saying. But I guess it would be more towards like Houston anyway, or maybe we do it in Austin again. But that's the only thing that hurts my tummy. But I'll go see my best friends to be able to do that again because they are sweethearts. I agree.
I visited Austin. Samantha and I, my partner, we were down in Austin in April this year. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a fantastic city. The only problem is, as soon as you travel outside of it, it's just there's so much negativity. Yeah, it's pretty mind blowing moving from one place to the other. That's completely opposite politically. But is there any like specific thing that really calls to you whenever it comes to? And you said inspirations all over the place. Is there something that sticks out to you that's kind of driven like a piece that really heavily influenced it?
Like in the community or just in art in general
Just
or
in art in general. I mean, I want to know what the fuck stallion head thing came from because I think the body is that Morkborg mini that's all hunched over on its back.
the,
You have the mini horse.
the five horses, the horse hydra thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um so what's the right way to think about this? Or to talk about what I thought about.
I've just always liked horse heads.
No, actually, so I made a different model last year, maybe. And when I posted, Bill had actually posted that he had done a horse head model. Bill Ford had done a horse head model as well, like really similar. And like we're all doing the same stuff, especially when we use the same bits. Like I've got a whole bunch of undead from my Mordheim Warband from last year, and
Yeah.
it's just night haunts, but with legs added into them. So you take like the
Shit.
ghosty night haunts and you add legs, and they become super creepy ghouls or whatever, right? I've run Hydra variants in my D&D game. So like
Oh,
Hydra as a
nice.
concept is really, really cool. And like an easy variant is instead of you needing to do fire damage to stop it from replicating, you need to do, say, cold damage or electrical damage, right? Like that's an easy pivot. But I was just thinking about if the Hydra started off as a snake or a basilisk type thing or some kind of aquatic lizard, and when you cut its head off, two grew back. Couldn't what if like lycanthropy is to werewolves? What if there was like a disease that made hydras?
Mm-hmm.
And what if
Yeah.
that disease went from lizards to horses?
Yeah, that would be
And then what would that look like?
terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying
Well,
is the answer. Yeah.
and then yeah. So it's the Morkborg troll, and then I'm actually just looking off camera at it on my shelf. It's the Morkborg troll, which I just used the front half for my demon Ezech,
Shit. That's
and then
cool. Yeah.
it's just the Wargame Atlantic's horse kit, and I just carved all of the saddles and like the tack and bridle off of the horses.
For the yeah.
Yeah, so like it was a lot of like fiddly carving off of them, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because that troll, that's another thing. I remember that troll. That wasn't that wasn't cheap. We're not here to talk about money, but I think that the troll was pretty up there,
yeah.
and it
I
paid off.
did the Kickstarter thing,
Yeah,
and I forget somebody who did I send the might have been Bits Bob Brad Porter that I sent the goblins to maybe.
nice.
Um, yeah, it was a Kickstarter,
Doing
and
another Morkborg, man. They get me with this fucking Morkborg shit because I'm telling you, like, Viridian and Boris is a fucking mad genius. I don't even
yeah,
know.
I I really like the narrative story of Morkborg. The layout of the book is just it's a little taxing for me. Like, and I'm probably gonna get flamed. I'm gonna get unfollowed on
No, it's
Instagram for
fuck
talking.
him. Who cares?
Yeah,
It's probably a fucking Trump supporter anyways, so it doesn't matter.
yeah, we can just get rid of them all at once, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I love like, and I like the aesthetic, but for me, as someone who runs games and tries to not look rules up, when I do need to look the rule up, the book has to be like
Yeah,
there's a
accessible.
there's a functional part of it that's just a little bit of a hurdle for me, but it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I mean, it's an art book, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What needs to happen is there needs to be a separate side thing that's
There
maybe
probably
like
is. That
20
probably
pages.
is, right? Like,
20 pages. Yeah. 20 pages where it's no illustrations whatsoever. It's just,
yeah.
but
I brought that book to. I visited my friend in LA and brought the book out, and we flipped through it, and he was like, "This is beautiful. Is it a game?" He was like he retained nothing, and like he was one of the other
yeah.
guys that got me back into D&D as an adult, and sorry, they and and they were like, "This is really beautiful. I don't know if we can run a game from this." And I was like it like in some ways it reinforces the aesthetic, which is super cool. And also, I need like the Times New Roman typewriter font
Yeah. I
analog
guarantee
print.
there's something out
Yeah,
there.
and it has to exist for sure.
There's got to be somebody out there that's exactly like you or anybody because I agree. It's one of my favorite. I have a whole shelf of like Morkborg adjacent games. I got Cauldron and stuff like that up there. Vermis and Vermis 2 and out to get the what's the God Husk from Plastiboo. So
I'm not familiar with that one.
yeah, it just came out. You should check it out on. I think it's not Exalted Funeral. Maybe it is Exalted Funeral, but you can find it on there. It looks like it's going to be good. I'm excited to get it. But the last time I ordered Vermis 2, it took a while, which I get. You know, art takes a while. Yeah, I get it, man. It's difficult to like. You're so like punched in the face by your 4-year-old self of all these like shiny objects that it kind of takes away from it, and you can't really figure it out. I think Forbidden Psalm is better about that. I actually learned something from it whenever I was doing it, but I'm such a visual person. Anyways, I have to watch somebody play it.
Yeah, that there is. That's probably the thing we could lift the community up even higher on would be reinforcing the value of like really good how to play YouTube videos. Because like you're, I think that's not the exception. I think you're more like everyone else in that way that watching someone play the game is the easiest way to learn the game.
Right. It's not scary.
Yeah.
Like it's not nerve-wracking. You don't feel for whatever fucking reason it is, you get real intimidated by it.
I've talked to Dylan from White Tiger Tablecraft about he has a really particular informed priority to how a book should be laid out.
Yeah. He does. Cauldron is very well,
Yeah.
I mean,
And for him it's like for me to learn this game, certain things have to click in order. And I feel like in Cauldron the like how to play is like 25 or 30 pages in
yeah, it
and
is.
it's because when you especially for a tabletop game, a skirmish game, the first thing you do is you're like what models do I use? How do I build those models? Or how do I take the models I have and stat them for the game? And so there's like a flow and
Yeah.
the the how to play videos. The other value is that you're jumping around. Like it doesn't like a really good book helps a lot, but even the best laid out book or to play the game, you're referencing different parts of it throughout the game,
Right. Yeah.
right? And to have someone else kind of walk you through, you're going to start here, you're going to jump and use this part, and then we're going to come back and we're going to work through the next steps, right? That's hard
And
to do in a book by yourself, right?
I agree. And I think what's crazy about it, man, like I tracked down because for whatever reason, I mean, for a good reason, it's sold out in a lot of places around here. But Enter the Dark Castle or Escape the Dark Castle,
Yeah.
I just bought that, and they give you kind of like or as soon as I bought that, I went to YouTube to look up a video because that's how exactly I found out how to learn how to play it. And now I have the table set over here so that whenever me and my wife finish Penguin, we can play a game of this. But it's yeah, man, I agree. And It's almost like you're trying to coerce me into doing a new show where you and me teach other people how to play or play games, which I'm going to hold you to, Adam. As far as I understand, to you, a voice agreement is a signature.
Sure. Yes, I'll voice agree to that too.
Yeah, we could do a whole separate thing. We'll dress in. I was going to, my very first episode of NODNARB'S Closet, I dressed as corpse paint
Mm,
face, and we went over wrestling. And then my ideas kind of like shifted, and I wanted to do something else. But maybe we can just dress up. It'll be a reason to dress up. We can go tit for tat on either side. We can act as the characters that we are,
sure.
and this is gonna work, bro.
Yeah,
I mean, it could work,
I do a pretty good corpse paint. I'll send you a picture of it after this.
dude. Then yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you have a fucking Bell Witch shirt on, bro. Yeah, I no, I get it.
But like, there's like I forget, is it it's Becca Scott. She does like she's like the big high production how to play game videos, but it's
Yeah,
all like
she's great.
she's great. And but like that concept, but for like just exclusively indie games,
Mm-hmm.
and um, I think there's a huge opportunity for that.
Yeah, Becca Scott reaches to a certain audience. So just like ours, soon to be ours, Adam will as well. And if you think that I'm joking about this, we'll talk later. No, man, I think that I think you're right. I think if we're so busy like painting and talking to each other back and forth, why wouldn't we explain some of the games? Like this is exactly what we went through whenever we were first starting
Hmm.
the hobby too. So it's good to pay it forward.
You mentioned like Brendan Lee Mulligan, but and I'll just put it out there, but like watching Matt Mercer DM on Critical Role improved how I run a game, right?
100%. Yes. That's same here. Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit that at all. I think that a lot of people, whenever they're really, just being their outstanding selves, a lot of people just try and ruin and shit on a good thing and try and figure out, well, you're just critic rolling it up and gatekeeper. But I don't think there's anything or anybody like that in our community, which is good.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, there's got to be some dickhead out there that is like being a big, you know,
But even like there's like the 40K and 40-minute channel. Like that's an awesome channel. If you want to watch to learn how to play like a competitive game of 40K, that
totally.
channel, like you get to see how a game works through the whole front to back. But there's not a channel showing you how to run, like, to just put it out there, like how do you run a narrative campaign like the Hive Scum guys did for the Bop barbecue event, right? Like what is a there are resources for what competitive play looks like in tabletop skirmish. Are there
Mhm.
resources for what narrative play in tabletop skirmish could look like,
Yeah, totally. I agree. And I think that that's the reason why I'm pulled so much into Bernard Lee Mulligan. I think he's like, if he does something fucked up, man, just I just need either my heroes to not do anything fucked up or kill themselves. Because I feel like
Oh, okay.
that always happens. Well, Anthony Bourdain, man, I grew up with, and I feel like it's either they go too soon or, just but yeah, that would break my heart. But we had to go there eventually.
Well, we all go there eventually, but
Yeah, I mean, we do. We do.
like it's
I
kind
mean, some quicker than others, which shouldn't be a thing if, as a, not a, I would like to say from a perspective of somebody who's lost their father from suicide, there's, there's channels out there. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And it can never look any better than if you continue. I'll put some resources in the bottom in the post for this video, and people can reach out. And I joke about it because it's something very serious to me, which sounds like a joke in itself, but needs to be discussed more. And
it does. I think most folks don't realize that there are people out there who not just are willing but want to talk. We mentioned this community a lot, um, but like part of my ability to get sober over the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, was supported by just, in the middle of the night when I'm trying to not drink, being able to just like get on Instagram and text somebody. And because I've made friends with people all over the world, whether it's that or, to the subject you're just talking about, like, I think people just need to hear that there are people out there that you can talk to.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it needs to come from, like I told you before, I was 14 years in the military. There was somebody new every year killing themselves in the military. I mean, it was like a pretty normal occurrence. There would be, sometimes like three, So they did it. They did it the wrong way, which is they would respond with this knee jerk of like trying to act like your buddy and trying to act like your friend, and it just comes off as fake. I think whenever people really start to talk about it, they can. At least this is my belief. Everybody has felt that low of a feeling at least once, and I've had those feelings in the past. I can't deny those. I think it's I think this thing that saved me from a lot of that bullshit was actually talking about it to real people. And I think that the community really offers that because we're all fucking mentally ill. I mean,
Yeah.
it appears in some way or the other, and we rebounded. That's the positive side of it. Is I feel like everybody in the community that has felt that before has rebounded and done something better with it, which kind of leads us into Kindness Corner. You've seen Kindness Corner before.
I have.
Barrett, across the screen, if you could, thinking long and heavy about this. And I think, which normally I don't do, I just come off of the cuff, but if you could place a big, fat, heaping glob of fucking Donald Trump's face, dressed as Polka Dot Man, and a little teeny tiny, off in the distance, maybe off in outer space, just a little alien jellyfish, like coming to. And we'll see if that takes off the way the movie did. What is something in the community that has really surprised you? You mentioned that you're 2.5 years sober now.
No, I'm a little over a year and a half. Would have been February of last year.
So, I mean, it could be related to that. It could be related to the hobby. Really, I use this section as a lot of people don't like to say nice things because they feel like they're kissing somebody's ass, or at least that's my perception of it. But what is something nice that you could say about the community or somebody that you know and care about that really gives you happiness?
Yeah, that's funny. I have watched your podcast and I knew this was coming and I
You
and
did.
I didn't think about it ahead of time. So
Yeah, I always catch people off guard.
yeah.
I think Nick is the only person, and no offense, I'm not cutting you down. Nick is the only person from Mold, I think, that actually was prepared, and I was blown away by it. And by that, I mean just could come up with something right off the top of their head.
You know who's been a huge inspiration and I need to just take action on a couple of things that they've got me thinking about is Hydra. Simon does he does the Idols fundraiser at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
year. He has done it the last couple years, and he sculpts because that's what he does, right? Like he just creates, and then he you get to interact with it by making a donation to like one of three or four charities, and then
Oh, I
he
didn't.
makes
Yeah.
copies. He casts copies of it with resin, these models, and then you get the models for free. And I think it's one of those things that like that, and then Colsifer's giveaway.
Yeah. Are you talking about for Hydra?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
was
yeah,
just making sure that that's
yeah, yeah.
awesome. I didn't
Yeah, his
realize that.
handle is 4YDRA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I don't know how to pronounce anybody's Instagram handle. Like I never met him in
Yeah.
person, so I have no idea.
Please guess mine.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna just keep moving on. Um, so
No! This is a new segment of the show. Guess my name.
wait, your name in person, like your
No, not
given
guess
name?
my name. My name is actually Brandon.
Yeah, your name's Brandon.
How would you say that if it came off?
Uh, is it you're talking about EDAW'S end?
Yeah. So what's really funny about this, and I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't think I've ever brought it up because I always thought that it was just like people would get it, but it's EDAW'S End. Whenever I was a child, my family used to call each other by our first names backwards, and my dad's name was Wade.
Okay.
And I originally called it EDAW'S Imperious Emporium, and then changed it to EDAW'S End whenever my dad died. And it's just really funny because NODNARB Unpleasant is my name backwards, Brandon. But yeah, he was also my first D&D character coming back into playing D&D and not DMing.
Yeah.
That's always held a special place in my heart. But I cut you off. I
Okay.
think yours is Dumay, and I'm sorry. I had to do that fucking stupid dad joke.
It's all
I
good.
had to.
It's all
I
good.
had to. Yeah.
Yeah. There, I'm continually inspired by the community's ability to lift itself up, right? And like Hydra's stuff is crazy. Like the guy's a Golden
Yeah.
Demon winner, right? Like,
Yeah.
and he's just like,
Yeah. To a completely different planet. Like, yeah.
yeah, and and then he does this charity fundraiser, and it's a pile of work, and the molds go bad, and like, so the I guess my point is like we are as strong as we are lifting each other up, right? Like,
For sure.
and the little things go like a super long way. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been I know what you're getting at. Kind of leads us back from our conversation over text. I think that it's really hard to have a loss for words right now. Um,
He has a heavy week. Like here in the U.S., I don't know when this is. Like I don't know what your duration from when we record to when it will come out, but like this was an intense
yeah,
week here in the U.S. It's like,
yeah, it'll probably just be just like a week and a half. But I have found myself at a loss for words at times, which is not the thing that normally happens. I'm part of the reason why I do this podcast too. I love to talk to people, meet new people. Brings me to my old self, which is being more social as opposed to what I think of people whenever I'm out and about. So this has kind of given me a positive spin on it and kind of directed me back to kind of what I used to think of the world before it kind of didn't change, but showed its ugly face a little bit more prominently.
yeah,
Because I was asked the other day at a political meeting that I went to, how did you first start to get into politics? And I think the first thing that I ever did was I was like back whenever I was like 12 or 13. Oh, no, we just talked about this. Me and my wife did. I was 15 years old whenever I watched the Trade Center get hit by the two planes. My English teacher's class, Miss Huff. And I think my politics started there. Really, it started with me trying to petition in my 400 people in a elementary school to petition for those ball chain necklaces that they weren't banned for.
okay,
Yeah, it was so stupid. But I have to bring that up because I have to break up this darkness. Yeah, I think that's whenever it started. It kind of leads back to what we're talking about, which is sticking together, strong together. What has been something of a challenge this week for you after a week of BS?
just like in my personal life,
Yeah.
I got a team of coworkers I lead. Like there are team members who are uncertain about what their access to medical health is going to look like in the next 4 years. I have a good friend who's, concerned that their gender is going to become illegal, like it's we are seeing this not so slow rise of fascism in the U.S.
Hmm?
And it's
Sure are.
terrifying for lots of. It's terrifying for me. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I
um,
asked you that broad question not to like change the show or anything, but it's important, I think, also in this hobby to address real life things. And oftentimes we were able to do that as kids where we could, it's politics. We don't talk about it. Family, don't talk about it. I think we've gotten to a boiling point now where if you're not talking about it, you're part of the issue.
yeah, yep. My kid came home in the last. I think it was before the election. It might have been Monday, and was like, "Oh, the kids on the bus are talking about how Kamala is going to ban Christmas," and I was like, "That is ridiculous." And he's like, "Well, they were looking at a video on TikTok or something, and he wanted to just see the video so he could have the context, so he could like
Yeah,
defend it." And I was like, "You have to realize that we have not just children; we have a whole generation of adults who only consume information in little sound clips,
right.
and they don't actually don't care to hear the whole story." And I was like coaching my kid, like, you need to be educated, you need to have your own opinion, and you have to realize that like the person who is you're talking to may not want to have a grounded conversation. Yeah, I lost my train of thought of where I was going.
Oh, I get it because that's the way my brain's been. I can tell you straight off, I don't think we talked about this, but it's weird whenever it's not weird, but it's E1
Hmm.
the day after I put up a story about Midwest Lust, which is a band out of Missouri that had Project 2025 and all the data points on it. And I was called out by two followers. I don't, I'm not going to out you, but I was confronted by two followers that asked me questions that I repeated myself, and I was like, Did you just send me? I just literally sent you a snippet of a news source from three different news sources. They're all saying the same fucking thing. It's not by, and it's so funny, man. One of them tried to delete their text after they wrote it to see, like, so I wouldn't see that they wrote it because they didn't. And I'm like, and for both of you, I mean this sincerely. If you have a question to learn, I'm here for you. But if you don't, you're fucking pussies. And, you know, you can be okay with fascism all you want, but I'm not going to. And followers, anyways, I appreciate everybody that watches these pods or pays attention to my stuff online. To be quite honest with you, if there were five genuine fucking people and they were the only ones that didn't like fascism, I'd fucking unfollow all of you. It's not that big of a fucking deal to me to state something like that because it's should be everybody, right? We all collectively, and it took me a long time to say this, but we all collectively that do this hobby are artists. We are, period. It doesn't matter if you just fucking started. It doesn't matter if you fucking make a living off of it. We're all doing art. The number one enemy of art is fascism. And if you have a fucking problem with that, you need to do your research, your history, and I'm not going to try and act like I've seen some people do and act like a badass and tell people go fuck themselves, blah, blah, blah. As far as I won't even give them a shot. I will tell you to go fuck yourself. I don't have an issue with that. I just the opposing side of things is very different and it cannot be ignored because it's going to be in our daily lives
Yeah,
in about 60 something days. So if you have a problem with it and you're in this space and you're friends with me or follow my stuff or friends with anybody for that matter, if you don't have just a conversation or ask questions and you look at something from a very blurred lens, very difficult for me to support somebody like that, so I won't do it.
Yeah, I mean the whole "they came for" poem, right? They came for this group and I ignored it, and they came for that group and I ignored it. Like that's we're walking into that. There's no blurry lens here. All the Project 25 stuff is pretty straightforward.
If you're not a Christian, you're fucked. And if you are a Christian and you look a different way, you're fucked.
It's the Trump won, and then was it Wednesday or Thursday? He did the speech of what he wants to do in the first 100 days, and all of the like just the tariff stuff.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Wait, he's actually going to do it?" And then the fallout of like, "Well, that means this." And I saw an article where people are confused that PlayStation 5s are going to cost $1,000, and they're upset. And I'm like, that's the least thing to be upset about on
That's
the
what
playbook,
people care about, man.
right?
And that's why I joined in this political group around my areas, because I was trying to find a different avenue that would bring me some kind of other side of things. Because to be quite honest, in my head, it was just very negative, violent thoughts.
Yep.
And there's other ways to go about that, which some people did on January 6th and some people didn't. But I'm of the like mind to believe that, even if he did win, I could believe that another January 6th would happen on inauguration. I could totally believe that. And what you have to ask yourself is, do you know any people that are different complexion than you? And if you do, and you think that it's not possible, know that it's already happened. A guy's kid was shot in the air at by a fellow neighbor who was also a Trump supporter of an Indian man. And they scared away his fucking kids. Told them to go back to their fucking country.
Well, all the Southeast Asian hate that came up during Trump's first, like this version of it, this second presidency isn't going to be milder. It's going to
Oh,
be more
it's
extreme.
going to be overhauled.
Yeah.
Which I will give us a little bit of brightness here. And I want to sign off with a little bit of positivity, especially if you have anything to say about it. If you were a young kid like me at one point and actually listened to punk rock, and it wasn't a fad for you, you didn't lose certain principles that were in that you just do as just be a good person. You really start to see that this is what we've been training for. This is the reason why a lot of us have been desensitized, and we've lost a lot of humanity that we could have continued to have all throughout our adulthood, but we are instead looking at individuals burn in a tent. And then people, I got a question the other day, well, why do you watch it? I was like, what do you mean? And they said, well, if you don't watch it, it's not real. And for me, I'm not a superhero, but I know what right and wrong is. That's complicity. It is very simple, and you know, I don't know if it's because people think it sounds like too much of a movie that people are like, we're not going to live in this type of movie environment. This is what this guy knows. He doesn't live in reality. He clearly lives through some kind of savior complex movie esque type of version of things that where the hero wins, and in this case, the hero is a fucking villain.
Yeah.
So if it comes to a head and people can get behind it, I'll fight every goddamn day that I have to make sure that my Hispanic daughter, my Hispanic wife, Puerto Rican wife, and young son all know that if you say, your body, my choice, you're a fucking splat on the pavement.
Yep.
disagree with some people whenever it comes to violence. And while I don't call for it now, I do think, unfortunately, violent revolution is needed in certain aspects of what we're looking at because I just don't think that certain people wake up enough. They've been told lies for 8 years, they've been told lies for 12 years, and everybody wants to play nice and say that we're better than them, we're better than them. And this is getting into my own philosophy a little bit, and I'm sorry for that. But
Your podcast.
yeah, I think that anybody who sees this name, I want to make sure that you know that EDAW'S end, all it means is the end of fucking fascism, the end of police state, the end of bullshit that affects every one of our lives. And I think it's important for people to stop saying we don't talk about politics here. This is a getaway. I think it's important for those same people to say, fuck that. You got to stand for what's right. And some people can do it, some people can do it. If not, I just hope that you have other avenues of.
I don't think we need escapism. I think we need to harden ourselves.
You think we need to what?
Harden ourselves.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Like, it's not going to get easier. We need to get stronger. We need to get more vocal. We need to get engaged. You need to walk around your neighborhood and learn your neighbors, right? Like, the it's naive to think, because we see it in action right now, that the other side is, and has for years, has been doing all the like the indoctrination of this worldview, right? And when we talk about dismantling education, when we talk about dismantling support networks, when we talk about taking away food from kids in schools, it's all instrumental. These are the steps. We have seen this in the modern era. We have seen this playbook. Like, this is the Nazi group playbook.
Yeah.
And I know that, like, throwing the term Nazi out is overplayed or whatever, right? Like, it's viewed as this Hail Mary, it's reactionary, whatever. But, like, it's the fascist playbook, and we're seeing it unfold in front of us. And to not acknowledge it is that degree of complacency, right? Like, it is happening.
So, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, I think that
Sorry.
that's a good place to leave it at. I think that it's been a tough week.
It has been a tough week.
I didn't like Kamala. I did my best to paint one miniature to get my mind off of it. Tomorrow, be careful. If you are going to a Veterans Day parade, be very careful. We're specifically not going. My wife loves them because she's cheesy and she's 80 years old, but she loves them and she wants to go. And then she was like, "Oh, but this just happened and we don't know." If you have to change your life in any way, shape, or form based off of politics, you need to get active. And whenever Tuesday rolls around, if you're not doing things in your community or searching out groups in your community, do like I did. I one day on Instagram, I was like, let's see if there's any more or any socialist groups or groups that like helping homeless people or you get involved. If you don't, I mean, I did, and I showed up on Wednesday. I found out on Monday, showed up on Wednesday, on the day that we found out about the election. So it's not toot my own horn. I'm just saying, if I can do it, you can do it. And I understand that people are in a difficult circumstance. I was in Abilene where you didn't have anything. Whenever you see these people in your community, these people are people that are like-minded, reach out to them. Kid told me online, one of the two people that tried to call me out for some fucking reason on my post, he was asking me about, Social Security and things like that. And I'm like, it wasn't going to go away. Inform people. Talk to them. I know it's difficult. There's times where I don't want to talk to those people and engage. You got to make a move. I hope you do, and I hope we can get back to this hobby of ours someday with full ease of no worries and stress, but that's not life the way it is now, and you have to fucking fight. So if you're an enemy of the fucking enemy of within, be the fucking enemy within. Sorry for today. Today has been a little less jokey. Been in a little less jokey mood. I do want to say fuck Donald Trump and fuck any fascist that steps in the way, especially that dude, the fucking white supremacist dude. He does a podcast. I can't remember his name. He has a Mendez. I can't remember his fucking. But anyways, he was some white nationalist talking about my choice, your body. For any little kids out there that are doing it, your parents are a fucking waste of human skin if they allow a type of behavior to happen and preach hate. And you can tell your parents and tell them it came from Brandon Stuart, spelled Stuart, at EDAW'S end on IG, to go fuck themselves. I gave you permission to. Is there any plugs that you want to give out, Doom?
Question authority. Like, that's the tagline, the conversation I was having with my kid today, like just today, was you have to educate yourself and you have to question authority, right? Like,
I did for 14 years in the military. You can too.
yeah, like, I don't have any plugs. Like, just go educate yourself.
You can find him at Doom and Apathy on IG. Gonna be a good friend of the pod, I think, and I look forward to our play-alongs for. I think we should do Forbidden Psalm since you know that one.
Yeah,
we should do that. We could do that on. We could do that online. We could do that.
Yeah.
You're a fucking sweetheart. Cole told me that, and I knew it. So did fucking Bill. Man, just 4 of us guys in a room together. Who's gonna get off first? I don't know. It's probably gonna happen.
All right.
I know we're talking about March Grimtex, March, April. We'll talk about it later.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And whenever you come to, this little fuck-up bump in the road, I will always be here. You can always reach out to me. And I'm sure Doom would say the same thing, because he's a fucking sweetie. If you ever need to talk, you can reach out to us.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Thanks for being on here, Doom. We went a little bit over. Actually, this is my longest episode to date, but it's important. But to all of those out there, I love you, and do some nice things out there.
Hey there, this is Barrett from the ATI Podcast, here to talk about what we have going on the ATI Podcast Network. First, we'll start with Waxing On with R and J. The format of Waxing On with R and J is audible selections made exclusively by our hosts and brothers, Ridge Jackson and Jake Jackson. Waxing On with R and J is sure to tickle your inner eardrums with some of the most vile tones you've ever encountered, and conversely, ear candy with pop melodies, focusing on spotlighting underground and rising artists. Waxing On with R&J is another outlet of the ATI podcast community to bring awareness to many musicians' craft. Also found on the ATI Podcast Network, NODNARB'S Closet, hosted by Brandon Stuart of EDAW'S. NODNARB'S Closet is a wing of the ATI podcast programming that delves into the world of role-play games, miniature painting, diorama making, occasional pro wrestling match watch-alongs, providing commentary with a dash of jocularity and satire, and much, much more. Of course, leading the pack is the ATI Podcast. On the ATI Podcast, we episodically invite guests onto our show to spotlight their talents, whether that's musicians, filmmakers, artists, actors, businesses, even athletes. Nothing is off the table. The focus of the ATI Podcast and its collective Creative Arms, whether that's waxing on with R&J, or NODNARB'S Closet is to bring awareness and focus to people's talents. Be sure to follow us across all traditional podcasting platforms, and for the full experience, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search the ATI Podcast. Stay safe out there.